What's up, YouTube? It's me, Arthur, aka the Indie Comic Book Guy. Today, it's kind of a response video. Comics by Perch. He just released a recent video asking the question: is making comic books a side hustle? Is it a side hustle? It's not a easy way to answer this question. Picture this with flashback time. Let's go all the way back to the 90s. Young Arthur went to a convention. It was actually Wizard World, back when Wizard World conventions were good. I sit in the audience. The keynote speaker was Stan Lee. He was all in, full Stan Lee mode. He was the character. And he asked, he was like, hey, how many of y'all want to make comic books when you grow up? And I was like, me. He's like, oh, you're an artist or you're a writer. What do you do? I was like, I do both. I'm a writer and an artist. He's like, cool. He said, cool. I wish you luck. Do you have a portfolio? We have some guys that are, reviewing portfolios back when, and this was back when, all the big cons, they had the Marvel and DC guys looking over portfolios and so forth. I didn't have a portfolio. Needless to say, I stopped drawing. Kept writing, but I stopped drawing. Fast forward 10 years later, ran into Stan Lee again. I ran into him probably about 4 to 6 times throughout my lifetime. But 10 years later, met him again. Of course, he didn't remember me. But I had an interesting 5-minute conversation with him about Marvel Comics and comics in general. And he gave me some advice, if you will. We were talking about the Fantastic Four, and somehow we got on the subject of Black Panther, and he was like, you know what? I want to see more people. He didn't say like you, but he essentially was saying he wanted to see more diversity in comics, more people outside of the standard norm that were making comics create comics. And that stood with me. He didn't say, oh, I want to see all these diverse characters. He just wanted to see more diverse voices, so to speak, create comics. That stood with me. And fast forward, last time I saw Stan Lee, they had a New Year's Eve, Marvel New Year's Eve celebration. There were several creators there. Stan Lee was one of them. And this was a little bit before he passed away. I'd say several months to a year before he passed away. And you could tell he wasn't in the best of health. He wasn't Stan Lee the character. He was just, this guy who loved his fans. He loved interacting with his fans, and he didn't want to miss this event, so he came. That was the last time I spoke to Stan Lee, the last time I saw him, and so forth. But he still smiled. He still appreciated each and every person that came out to this event. That meant a lot to me. Seeing this guy, and of course didn't know it at the time that how sick he was and that he would pass away a few months later. But seeing this guy out there, not for the money, but for his fans. And so when I look at this question, should comic books be a side hustle, I think about Stan Lee. And I think about his career. I think about Jack Kirby. I think about Dwayne McDuffie. I think about so many people out there who are making comic books. And I said on one of my last videos, if you're just doing this for the money, stop watching this video, go do a Kickstarter, Indiegogo. I wish you luck. But some people do things for the love. Now, having said that, love don't pay the bills. Love does not pay the bills. Because like Perch said in his video, I believe said, I think he said 90% of the people making comics, and I may be wrong, he might have said 80 to 90% of the people making comics, they're not making enough to live on. They're either living with somebody, and I know a lot of creators out there that are living off their mama, girlfriend, wife, whatever. And they put the burden, the financial burden of the household on that other person. Do I feel that's right? Of course not. Of course not. And this is true with musicians, actors, whatever the case may be, whatever your creative pursuit is. You should not be so single-minded in your dream that you burden someone else with it by having them pick up the slack for you. Because what happens over time, you may have an agreement with your wife. Babe, she's like, yes, I want you to work at the dollar store where I make comic books. What? Yeah, I'm gonna make comic books. You work at the dollar store and bring in the bacon, whatever. Make me a sandwich while you're doing it. What? Do it now. Okay. By the way, I'm just gonna make comic books. I'm not gonna do anything else. Not even Uber? No. Taco Bell's hiring? No. And you put the burden on that person. Over time, resentment will come. Resentment will come. And I use the word dream because the difference between dreamers and successful people is successful people put deadlines on things that they're trying to accomplish. And they're not afraid to pivot. They're not afraid to pivot and do something else. You never want to put that kind of burden on someone else. But creators, and again, not just talking about comic book creators, because I've seen this with actors, musicians, whatever. People get so single-minded that that's all they want to do. They're like, I can't do anything else. All I know how to do is play the guitar. I don't want to do anything else. A day job is not for me. Not for me. Maybe for you, but not for me. And they may get some gigs here and there. They may get some commissions here and there. But that resentment will come. What form that resentment will take? Might be divorce papers. I don't know. I don't know. But going back to the question, is creating comic books a side hustle? For most people, it is. For most people, it is. Now, does it have to be a side hustle? That's a different question. But I'm glad you asked. If you have the ability to market and promote yourself, to get gigs on a regular basis, to get commissions, whatever you want to call it, and at the same time build your audience, you can make a living pursuing your dream. And that dream can turn into a business. But you have to treat that dream like a business. Because otherwise, you're just chilling. I'm just going to make my comic book, I'm going to write it, or I'm just going to edit my friend's comic books and see what happens. Do you have a degree in English? No. Have you worked for a publishing house? No. Have you worked for a magazine? No. Have you worked for anyone other than your friends? Well, no. How do you know you're a good editor? My friend said so. My friend said so. How do you know you're a good singer? My mama likes my singing. Your mom likes your singing. You have a good mom. You have a good mom. But seriously, if you do not treat your creative endeavor as a business, you've already lost. You've already lost. Yeah, we can talk about page rates for artists, letters, uh, writers, and all that till we're blue in the face. People are like, it's not fair, it's not fair, it's not fair. It's a thing called supply and demand. Right now, the market is oversaturated. Writers are a dime a dozen. Artists are a dime a dozen, and so forth. Perch, he touched, it's early, I need my coffee. He touched on whether or not people were making more money creating comics in the 80s or the 90s. And in some ways, yes. Some ways, no. It really depends on who you were and your profile as a creator. The bigger name you have, the more money you're going to make. Fast forward to 2021. Some of these same artists and writers who work for Marvel and DC, they are broke. They're broke. They've given up creating comics. You'll see them at a convention here and there, and only diehard fans will come up to them because the modern fans have no clue who half these people are. They don't know who they are. They're only revered by people who grew up at that time reading their work or liking their art. So now, these same people who are big in the 80s, 90s, or 70s, or whatever, they're in the back of the con. They're looking for these 40, 50, 60-year-olds to come up to them. But I remember when you wrote Legion of Superheroes. Your art on Guardians of the Galaxy in the 90s, that was awesome. You get a lot of that. Get a lot of that. And it's sad to see people who inspired us be broke. It's sad to see people who inspired us have to go to con just to eat. Because they're not getting enough royalties from these projects that they worked on. They're not getting current work on an ongoing basis in comics, just in comics, to survive. They're not getting it. And again, it's sad. So when I look around and I see people doing Kickstarters here and there, almost every month, or Indiegogo campaigns every month, they're capitalizing on that instant gratification. They're like, hey, this property's hot right now, or my name is hot right now. Let me capitalize off of it, make as much money as I can before the well dries up. And for some of these people, that well's already started drying up. Why? Everybody's doing a Kickstarter. Everybody's doing an Indiegogo campaign. Somebody told me years ago, if everybody's doing the same thing, you need to do something different. You need to do something different. Do something different. I know a lot of creators, they only work on their own project. And again, I said this in a video this week. If you're only working on your own project, you're not working on anything else, you're doing yourself a disservice. You really are. Unless you are putting the time, money, and talent behind marketing and promoting yourself in that property to really build that brand, you're doing yourself a disservice. You really are. Anyway, I want to know what you think. Is creating comics, a side hustle? How many people do you know are working in comics full time? They're not dependent upon someone else to pay their rent, to buy them food, to buy them tacos without cheese, of course. Because cheese on tacos is just crazy talk. Crazy talk. Anyway, final thoughts. Final thoughts. I think with anything, whether you're a musician, actor, director, comic book writer, artist, whatever, if you put all your eggs in one basket, unless that's the best basket in the world, you are setting yourself up for some type of failure. Comics may be your first love, but if that first love is not treating you the way you want to be treated, it's not making love to you the way you want to be made love to, sometimes you got to leave it. Even if it's just temporarily. Go pursue other things. You might, go and see her every now and then. Like, you know what? I'm between girls right now. How you doing? I'm doing good. All right. And visit her again. Some people are like, what does that have to do with comics? You'll understand when you're older. But just don't be afraid to do other things. Don't put all your eggs in one basket unless you're prepared to make that basket the best basket in the world. You have to grow your fan base. You have to grow your audience, grow your profile. Let people know who you are, what you can do. Because at the end of the day, there are a lot of people who can do the same things you can do. And they can do them better. Difference is marketing, promotion, building your following, building your audience. If you do that, you'll be okay. Is comics a side hustle? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. I'm the indie comic book guy. Peace twice.